Another day in the books. Just did one bullet. Played the morning flight. Did quite well. Just needed to hold multi-way with nines against King Jack O and Queen Jack suited. But we kick on. I decided not to play the evening flight. Didn't sleep enough last night. And this is going to be a 3-week marathon. So as much as I want to bag this little 800, I've got 2 more flights tomorrow. And as these things go, they just get better and better and better as the pros get through. So it's always worth keeping tabs on how you're feeling. Don't ever burn the candle at both ends if you don't have to. That being said, tomorrow is going to be a potentially huge day, and then you're going to have to back it up the next day. So that's the thing. It's all well and good to make day 2, but then if you don't sleep or whatever, you might just die in the ass. My process on a normal day, a normal study day, is to just hit a randomized assortment of any possible spot. So when I go home from a series, I will just work on a little bit of everything every day. But when I'm away, assuming that I've slept well, this is the thing, it's all about how much juice you got in the tank. On a good day, I'll fire 25 hands against the robot before I go down, and I'll filter by the stack size I'm going to go into. And frankly, you're better off just focusing on sub 40 big blinds. That's a really good tip. Until you get a really good baseline, sub 40 bigs is all you need to focus on. And then you can start looking at deeper stacks, because the moment you start having 4-bet non-all-ins and stuff, it gets a little bit more tricky, especially when humans, just generally speaking, do not hit the right frequencies pre-flop. So, for example, like 100 big blind MTT sims are just kind of useless. All these opinions and tips I'm giving were given to me once upon a time, and it was pretty revolutionary to my game. The other thing about these pre-flop sims is they also assume post-flop is played a certain way, which is, again, close to impossible to replicate. So all these things can be used to shift optimal play drastically. But the way I roll is to really just try and focus on GTO solutions, pure GTO solutions, long-term profitable plays, because people will, like good players, they just strive to be as close to GTO as possible. So, yeah, and if any players are too exploitative, all of a sudden they just open themselves up to you, who are just nailing frequencies. Like, they're sticking their neck out just a little bit too often, and they're just a little bit too weak when you come back over the top. So you just print money pre-flop. That's it in a nutshell. So the first kind of interesting hand was a 3-bet ace-10-0 hijack versus lowjack. Against a recreational player who was really splashy, playing way too many hands, and had like pretty huge sizing tells. Like he was just trying to mash money in with big hands. It was pretty predictable. King Jack 9 two-tone. He checks. I play a small bet. He just snap calls. Turns a king, so that's always nice when the top card pairs. It makes it less likely they have a king. Interestingly, when we look at the strategy, he's supposed to be very aggressive in response to a bet, so it's actually a pretty narrow calling range, but he's just got a whole lot of other stuff. Just all sorts of 2 pairs on the turn that he shouldn't probably have, but yeah, I played a smaller size than I was supposed to on the turn to set up like an 80% river bet. He calls very quickly again. In a lot of these cases, strong is weak and weak is strong. So on a river brick, I was pretty prepared to just launch it. He checks, I do that, and he just like snap folds. I mean, he just went on about how I was walking the dog. He just thinks I have pocket jacks all day, and I was like, I'll tell you after. As I always do, never give anything away unless you have to show your cards. That's a really basic one. The game is about incomplete information, so don't be predictable, don't be arrogant, resist the urge to show bluffs. Like, some people try to get under people's skin and they'll just show it to get a reaction, and that's just not how I roll. The only other really interesting hand was a four-way pot, so I had no idea what's even good here, but it was like hijack, button, small blind, big blind. I had 8-7-0, and it just comes King 8-5, rainbow. Checks to the button, who takes quite a bit of time before wagering like a quarter or 30%. Small blind folds, and with 3 to a straight, along with a pair, just a little too much to throw it away. So I call, and the original raiser interestingly calls. So when I have the 8 there, I kind of block like a set of 8s, very relevant. So the top hand that the button can have, pretty much. He can still have a set of 5s, but I wouldn't expect him to just tank and hesitate to bet the flop, especially at this sort of buy-in limit. People at the high stakes are a bit more balanced in their timing, I've noticed. A bit more self-aware even. So turn comes the 9. And all of a sudden, in my eyes, my equity sort of spikes. I'm the only one that can have all the combos of 6-7. I can have some 2 pairs with the 9-8, potentially like 9-5 suited might see another one. If I had like a backdoor flush draw, 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush. Might even try like a raise that on the flop. I'm not even sure if it's good, but I know for a fact that I'm overdoing it if I just like lead every 8-7. But I do it anyway, for quite a large sizing. On that 9, it's just going to bring a whole sort of like bunch of open-enders, and there was even like a backdoor flush draw. So I expect a fair few hands that will have to call turn and fold river, assuming the board doesn't change. And the board just breaks out, and I'm like, okay, well, the button called, the other guy folded if that was left out. And I decided to just shove to get him to fold 1 pair, and he takes quite a long time before making the agonizing fold. He said he had king queen, and that it was a crazy fold. And yeah, I mean, it's tough to expect me to find bluffs there if you don't know who I am or what I'm capable of, and that's why traveling for poker is so good, especially if you play a little bit unconventionally and people underestimate you. There's nothing better in life than being underestimated. So the other one was just like a cool little plan that went well. It was that recreational I was talking about, the splasher guy and player. He had a real roller coaster of a day, and he was down to 2 bigs. And interestingly, under the gun limps, he jams for 2 bigs, so reopens the action. I'm next to act with like the whole table behind, so I must have been +2. I look down at queens, and I just call. Fold, and then next guy to act makes it 8 bigs, folds around to under the gun, who just shoves for like 40 blinds. And I was just like, obviously quite thrilled to have queens here. But I always like to take my time. I always try to be uniform in how long I take for the decisions. And a lot of the time, what I'm doing is I am just using my peripheral vision to see how my opponents in the hand are behaving. So I was quite aware that the guy on my left who made it 8 bigs, he was the one I was really worried about. And he was really searching for a read on me. So if he had aces or kings, he'd be a little bit more relaxed. So I was just high-fiving the dealer on the way in, and sure enough, fold, and the other guy turns over pocket fives. Short stack had kings. So there's just like a really sort of unconventional hand to throw in, where it, if I just raise, everybody else folds, potentially. I think the other guy had he said he had blackjack, so I guess ace 10, ace jack maybe. So yeah, this, I'll have to work on this segment. It's quite time consuming, and I'm not exactly tech savvy or very good with this video editing software. So we'll see how we go. Hoping tomorrow goes well in flight 1E. So there's 2 more flights. The last one's a turbo flight. So the reason I didn't play tonight was because it will go till 3 a.m. and I was up late last night. And I often find that I'll sleep till the same time every day. So if I don't get to bed early enough, I'll just keep waking up at the same time and I'll be sleep deprived. So you just got to really know yourself. And I guess what I'm getting at is, even though poker is a volume game, live poker is all about pushing maximum ROI, maximizing your EV on every bullet, and maximizing your hourly. So in a lot of cases, especially in Vegas, where, cash games are very lucrative at times, you can just play cash instead of playing the first 5 or 6 levels of a tournament, and you've just made 3 times as much money in EV. So there's a lot of tricks to being profitable, and the other thing is, you also, in these main events, these huge things, it's great to bag heaps. If you can bag a huge stack, you just have a few more lives on day 2, you can afford to cop a few more knocks. It makes sense. And obviously, just never give up. Doesn't matter what you get through with. If you get through with 2 blinds, 1 big blind, 100 big blinds, anyone can win. You just can't afford to cop losses. So when you think about it, when you're bagging short stacks, you just have to get really lucky. So the plan is just keep firing these tourneys, and over the weekends especially, I will even play some cash. I had just a quick sesh while I was waiting for my hotel room. Did not go well, just 3-bet aces in PLO and check folded 10-9, 6 two-tone. If you guys would be interested in seeing me record all of my cards at the Aria, I could potentially have a couple wines and hang out. But I need to see some bloody enthusiasm. I need to see some subscribers and some comments. What do you guys want to see? You need to help me, because it could get a little bit monotonous otherwise. Peace.